I now have the great privilege of introducing to you Linda Armyn, who is a dear friend of mine, a mentor. She was once my boss, and she and I got to know each other in this program called I3. For those of you who aren't credit union junkies, this was an opportunity for us to better understand innovation. And when I first started in I3, I was much younger than I am today. And I was very intimidated by the human beings in the room, including Linda. And she was one of a few people who really walked alongside me and made sure that I knew I had a space to own in that room. Linda is the president and CEO of Bethpage Federal Credit Union, and she became the president and CEO in August of 2023. She serves as the 5th president and CEO, and she is the first female to hold that position. Linda owns a room. She is fun and energetic and brilliant, and she's doing some amazing things that you're going to get to hear about. So please put your hands together for my dear friend, Linda Armyn.
Thank you, friend. Hello. All right. So I have to tell you, Tansley is brilliant to the point that she doesn't even know, because she put me right after 3 presentations that sets up everything I want to talk to you about today. And the best part of it is I get to skip a slide and get to the meat of what we're going to talk about, which is a program we're doing called Money Like a Woman. So Tansley talked about the stats, right? The stats about women and gender equity and the pay gap and all those things that still exist out there, right? And then Sam came in and talked about women's leadership qualities and all the wonderful things that women possess to help bring people together. In my credit union, I say it takes a village all the time. Now, I didn't make that up, I stole that, right? However, I say it all the time, and I say it all the time because I believe it. And if you talk to anyone in my organization, they will tell you that it takes a village and that no one person can do this, and we have to do this together in a really collaborative way. So, rewind about 1.5 years ago, and we went down this path to rebrand. We had decided we have this national charter. Bethpage doesn't always test very well. It's this small town in Long Island. People kind of know the golf course that was made famous. In fact, every time we do testing on the name Bethpage, we ask, what does this name mean to you? And the largest word in the word cloud is nothing. As the CEO, that's horrible to see. And golf course was the second biggest word. Credit union was so small you couldn't even see it. So we realized it's time we have to change our name. And we met with this wonderful organization that helped us to go through that journey. And one of the things that Strawberry Frog, who is our agency, does is movement thinking. And they say if you really want to break through and you really want to be bold, you have to come out and stand for something that the whole organization can stand by, something that the whole organization can believe in. So I said, okay, great, how are we going to do that? And they said, we're going to interview everybody in your organization. Not everybody, but swaths of people through all levels of the organization, including our board. And the one thing that really started to resonate was female empowerment. And it was really interesting. And at the time, our board chair was a man, but the next up was a female, and it was coming quick. I had just taken over as the first female CEO, and we have a lot of women that work for us. And we have always had a culture of bringing people together. So our culture very much embraced all the traits that you talk about. And one of the things that's always been important to me, and I think is important to all of us in the credit union world, is that we want to make a difference, right? We want to have that ripple effect that Ashley just talked about. So when I said, yeah, I want to jump in on a movement, I just want it to be real. I want it to come from our soul, and I want everyone to be able to embrace it and love it and share it with the world so that we can make a difference one person at a time. And after interviewing everybody, they said, we really think there's something about women and culture, and now is the time to be bold. And there's a lot of companies that dabble in reaching out to the women's market, right? But that's not what this is about. This is about a movement jumping into something that's happening in culture, right? So when we were doing all these studies, Taylor Swift was killing it with the Eras Tour. And Caitlin Clark was winning basketball game after basketball game and drawing better ratings than the equivalent of the male basketball, right? So, and then the women's soccer team is taking a stand, right? And then Beyonce, she took a stand. And you have and Serena, right? These are women who are unapologetic, and making a difference in their world and in all of our lives. So I said, okay. So they presented me with this program. And at the time, you're gonna laugh, it was called Woman Up. And I was like, oh, I don't know about that. I was like, I want to be bold. I don't know if I want to be aggressive, right? And the reason I wanted to be bold and not aggressive, because this isn't about being in your face, women are great. This is about lifting women up on a pedestal to say, here's all the great things women do. Here's how they make a difference in the lives of their families, in the lives of their workplace, in the general community. And that's what Money Like a Woman is. So Women Up was the start, and it came into be Money Like a Woman. So every movement needs a manifesto, right? So we went down this path, and the manifesto started with something like this. Women should be ruling the world, or at least half of it. Women-led companies are more likely to have satisfied employees. Women make effective leaders because most lean into traits like humility and collaboration and self-awareness and empathy. And I did not see Samantha's presentation. And still, women often make 83 cents on the dollar. Women, while owned businesses are on the rise, they get a fraction of venture capital dollars. We continue to be unrepresented in the C-suite and in the boardroom. So what should a girl do? We need to make it our responsibility to close the gaps financially and culturally. We need to tackle misperceptions. Women are not bad at money. Women are great at money. They just think they're bad at money. It's true. We need to challenge complacency. We need to create opportunity until women can rule the world, or at least half of it. So, our goal from all of this was to help adopt a highly intuitive, collaborative, female mindset when it comes to finances, so anyone and everyone can money like a woman. So, what happened next? The researchers came in, because you can't jump into a movement like this to change the world, or at least half of it, without doing some research. And we interviewed 30 women, and then we went into 6 women's homes for a week each. And we watched how they interacted with their families, with their friends, how they handled their money, and had really in-depth conversations. We ended up creating a little documentary of these visits, and it was fascinating. But like every good consultant, we got pages and pages of notes, but here was the 5 themes. Women have materially less time to do more, right? Because they're the caregiver, they care for their parents, they do the work, they do all of that. Now, what I will say is I do believe that this is changing, because I think our generation, men and women come together, or women and women come together, or men and men come together as partners, right? And people focus on helping each other with these things. So no one person has to do it all, but there still is an extra pressure on women. It still exists today, and when you interview women, it's a very common theme that comes out. They also talked about becoming a mother means a complete financial and lifestyle shift. And it's true, it's just the reality of it, right? And you do have to juggle. And it was interesting, because when Sam was talking about her son, I just love that picture. I just want to know if you and Tansley take pictures for your family and say, I can use this in a presentation one time, because they were all perfect. Like, I mean, I'm like, how do they have these pictures from 10 years ago that are perfect? Anyway, I digress. The other thing we learned is that women want to share the wealth, even if they don't have it. If it's their last dollar and their best friend came to them and said they needed 50 cents, they would give it to them. And that shined through in every single interview we did. And community is huge. It takes a village, right? Every single woman that we talked to and their families said community was important to them. They needed their village to lift them up and help them be successful. I know my village helped me be very successful. In fact, I digressed because you told the story about your kids, and my son, when he was young, actually Kirk was my boss at the time, and he, for Mother's Day, had to do this quiz, like pick who the mom is, and I was not the mom who watched Oprah every day. I just wanted to say that. But I was the mom who worked at Bethpage Federal Credit Union a lot. And I was like, oh my God, like I had that moment, like my kid hates me. And he didn't hate me, he actually looked up to me. And that was the difference. I went to the negative instead of the positive. And what I've learned, because my son is 24 now, and he talks to me, he gave me a little pep talk today, how great it's gonna be to do this presentation and how proud he is. And and those are the moments that you remember forever. But we tend to get negative, like, oh my God, am I being a bad mom? No, you're being a great mom, you're being a role model. The other thing that came up through all these interviews is there's not enough tools. There's not enough tools to help people figure things out. They're in a lot of different places. There's many tools, but there's not one that actually brings everything together. So remember that for later. I'm stealing a line from Sam. So I'm gonna show you the Anthem video. And this is not your normal banking commercial. So I warn you with that if you haven't seen this. And then I'll talk a little bit about it. So here is our Anthem video that we rolled out at the end of October in this past year.
When it comes to money, we're not here to follow the old rules. We're here to write the new ones. We're the CEOs of the living room and the boardroom. We're the ceiling breakers, the gap closers, the new leaders. We know money, and we know what to do with it. When money talks, it's our voice that you hear, loud and clear. And when you money like us, we all win. Anyone and everyone can money like a woman.
Thank you. I love it. I've seen it a million times. In fact, 50 million people have watched that video to completion in the last 3 months. Yeah, wow is right. I look at it and go, is that right? We've had 500,000 unique hits to our website directly coming from these advertisements. We have never had a campaign that did that in the first 3 months. We just did our first 3-month benchmark, and we are above industry averages across the board. And the reason it is because it's bold and it speaks to people. So whether you're the CEO of the living room or the CEO of the boardroom, you can still come together and do it. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. You'll notice that there's 19 women, men, and children in this video because we wanted it to be very inclusive. We wanted the message to be inclusive. And as we started to roll out the activation, so it's great to have a commercial that tells a story, but what are we gonna do about it? How are we gonna put our money where our mouth is? So the first thing we did was invite people to come to our website, bethpagefcu.com/women, and tell us, what does money like a woman mean to you? Now this is Penny. She's actually in the commercial. She's the one dancing with the new leader. People always say to me, what's with the dancing? And it's because we don't want it to be a banking commercial. We want you to hear the message, right? The banking comes later. And those women were having fun. And I was up there in Toronto where we shot it, and I said, you know, you guys look like you're having fun. And they're like, yeah, we are, because this is a fun project to be a part of. And Penny was the first one to jump in and say she feels like just being in this commercial, she's making a difference. And that was really exciting. The other thing we wanted to do with this, besides listen to women and hear their stories, which people come to the website and tell us what it means to them. Some people tell us that we're idiots, and that's okay, because everybody's entitled to their opinion. I say thank you. We wanted to set a positive tone. This goes back to what Sam said. For every son who saw how hard his mom worked, have we got a credit union for you? The tone is about putting women up on a pedestal, not about we're better than, just that we're really good at something, and we need to make sure that we remember that, because women don't always remember that. We need to celebrate women and those who love us. I get all the time, what about the men? Well, the men have a lot of women in their lives. In fact, when we tested this before we went out, because besides research, every good movement needs testing, this tested a 79% favorability across men and women. And that's high, really high. And the question also went around, do you relate to this? And while do you relate to this was maybe in the 60%, we also asked the question, do you have somebody in your life that this would relate to? And then that shot all the way up again, right? And that was why it was also very important to be inclusive. So, and women wear a lot of hats, right? So I love my sassy little girl who's at the end of both commercials, and she's the money like a genius because she's the one that's gonna change the world in her generation. And we have money like a boss and money like a mom, money like an ally, and then money like a woman. And you can see these all over New York City and Times Square and Penn Station and Grand Central Station and digitally and on TV. So after we celebrate all these women, we wanted to create awareness, right? So Tansley talked about, what are you gonna do? This is what we're doing, right? So we have billboards like this on taxi cabs and all over different buildings and on Long Island and all over the place, giving the stats that we still have work to do. And come help us do that. Come be a visionary for this young woman that wants to change the world. And then we said, how do we support entrepreneurs? How do we support women-owned business? And we said, let's have some fun with this. Why does it have to be called a billboard? Let's call it a Beth board. So in November, in the middle of Times Square, we rented the NASDAQ board, which is very prominent. It's like 20 feet, it's so many feet tall. And I remember standing there looking at this going, holy cow. And we took these two women who are consultants that do a lot of work with women in companies and helping to coach them. And we put them up. And then we also used a woman that owns a company called Goal Setter that we do some work with. And we had Tanya up there, and they rotated for the whole month of November, right in the heart of holiday season in Times Square. And that program continues. And you can go to our website and you can nominate somebody. We're putting 3 more out. And we're not just doing it in Times Square, we're doing it where people live, because if you own a coffee shop on Long Island, you might not need a billboard or a Beth board in Times Square, but you might need one near your local train station, right? So we're putting the money to help women own businesses in the communities that they live in, and to give them some advertising that maybe they wouldn't be able to do themselves. And the next thing that we're doing is we're developing an AI-driven app that's gonna help solve the needs that we talked about when I said, remember this for later. So this app is in development now. It's gonna come out this summer, and it creates a trusting community. It creates a place for people to have conversations with your friend. It's an advice app. It really is about building trusting communities, bringing people together, and maybe learning something along the way. So more to come on that. That's coming out this summer. And then in the spirit of awareness and wanting to make a difference, we also shot this next commercial called Money Together, and I'm gonna leave you with this. One of the things when we were filming these commercials, we said we wanted a strong voice. I don't know if anybody recognized the voice of the commercial. It's a voice that would be very familiar to you, but it was important. Every piece of the first video and every piece of this video is very intentional. We wanted to talk about women having the power of money because women make 85% of the household finance decisions and purchasing decisions, right? So that's when money talks. It's our voices you hear loud and clear, right? Every word, everything had intention behind it, and so does this video. But Eva Longoria is the voice of these videos. And we chose Eva, and she accepted to be chosen, because that is a whole thing. But we asked Eva to participate in this because of the work she does with young girls. A lot of her philanthropy is around female empowerment, and specifically with young girls and helping them to make a difference and to get ahead in their lives and in their journeys. And we really wanted the voice to have some meaning as well. So everything that we've done around this has had particular intention. So I will leave you with this next commercial. This is not out yet, so you are the first to preview it, so I hope you like it. And this is called Money Together.
Did you know women didn't have equal access to credit until 1974? Yep, 1974. We've come a long way since then. Today, women are leading financial institutions, turning the page on the past. We're climbing into seats of power. And with that power, we're generating billions of dollars in revenue. Year after year after year. Women can money with the best of them. And when we money together, everyone wins. So let's help each other. Let's raise each other up. Our voices, our dreams, and our future net worth. Let's money like a woman. That page is now FourLeaf.
And there's that. Thank you. As of March 3rd, we will be FourLeaf Federal Credit Union, so you get to preview that as well. I thank you for your time, and I wish you the best.